Hello and welcome to the interview on France 24. My guest today is the United Nations Secretary-General, Special Advisor on the Prevention of Genocide, Adama Dieng. Hello and welcome to you to the show. Mr. Dieng began his legal career in Senegal, later becoming Registrar of the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, and then he was appointed to his current role by UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon last year. I want to start with a question about Syria and human rights in that conflict. President Obama has crossed a threshold now. He's authorized the sending of US weapons to the Syrian rebels. Is this the right way forward?
I should say that we have been extremely concerned, of course, about the use of chemical weapon. And the Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon last March decided to launch an investigation and appointed someone to handle it. But as of today, that investigation has not yet been, the condition has not yet been met to ensure independence, credibility. So I don't know on which ground, on President Obama, which evidence he has, but it is not, to my knowledge, based on evidence provided by the United Nations Commission.
So you're talking about the chemical weapons issue. So for you, the only way forward is the Selstrom Commission, that it should be allowed in to investigate?
Absolutely. I hope that the Syrian government, I hope that the rebel forces will accept that commission to undertake its mandate. However, I should say that arming the rebels, arming the Syrian government is not the best option.
Why not?
Because we have to encourage both parties to sit together. And those efforts are being done so far by the UN, like Lakhdar Brahimi, working with also the UN and the Arab League, and Kerry, following his recent visit to Moscow. Decision was taken when the Sherman was in Geneva recently. So let's give a chance to peace. Let's make sure that they will come to a solution. Otherwise, I'm afraid this conflict may spill over in the neighboring countries.
You're advisor to Ban Ki-moon on the prevention of genocide. Is Syria a genocide, or is it in the process of becoming one?
In December, I issued a statement drawing attention to the risk factors which we have identified, and namely regarding the Alawite community. Let's not forget that this situation in Syria started simply as a cry for freedom, as a cry for more democracy, freedom. But it is now turning into a sectarian violence. And that is why I'm afraid we have witnessed even Sunni also being killed simply because they are Sunni. So let's take all necessary measures to avoid genocidal acts to be.
Of course, part of your office is not just early warning, but early action. It's an easy charge to make, but the UN doesn't seem to have been able to do anything to stop this sectarian killing so far. Is there any new approach that you could offer, perhaps a more concrete plan that would involve compromises, concrete compromises from both sides?
Well, to start, when we said about the UN, let's make clear, Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon has been very consistent from the outset. You know, even regarding the use of arms, I should say that he made it very clear to those providing arms, they should make sure that those arms are not used to commit serious violations of human rights and international humanitarian law. Second, we have now to realize that it is up to the Security Council to speak one voice. And so far, unfortunately, the Security Council has failed to speak one voice to ensure the protection of the civilian population.
Mr. Dieng, when you've identified gross violations, you know, obviously, that the Security Council is highly political. It's not going to refer many cases, Syria would be one example, to the International Criminal Court. Is there any other route you can take outside the Security Council to make sure that the ICC produces indictments in the case of the Syrian conflict, for instance?
Unfortunately, Syria not being party to the Rome Treaty, only the Security Council would have that possibility to refer the case. Now, another possibility, of course, is once the Syrians found a solution among themselves, a compromise solution, tomorrow nothing should prevent them to establish an institution, judicial institution, which will handle those cases. Not only people close to Assad, but also people close to the rebel who might have committed serious atrocities.
You've worked a lot on this concept that has been criticized a lot, the responsibility to protect doctrine, which has been around now since 2005. Is there a way of turning it into a legal framework? Because at the moment it's a norm. If it were to become a legal framework, would that deter genociders?
Well, as you may know, in 2005, the world leaders agreed that they should stand and protect civilian population at risk. And it was a compromise, in fact, because they limited only to 4 crimes: genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, and ethnic cleansing. 8 years down the road, the R2P has achieved, I should say, a lot. The Libyan intervention, Resolution Y973, was really, I would say, welcome, although there were people who felt that it was not implemented the way it should have been implemented. But to my view, we should not forget that R2P means also prevention. There are 3 pillars, and the case of Mali is an illustration that the R2P can work, and it has worked in the case of Mali.
How has it worked in Mali?
In the sense that from the outset of the events in Mali, the Malian did ask the regional ECOWAS to come to their rescue. They asked also bilateral support. And later on, they seized also the Security Council. And thanks to that to those efforts, today it is possible to contemplate at least stability in Mali. However, we have to realize that the situation is still fragile.
What about the actual human rights abuses in Mali? What is the plan now to bring the perpetrators to justice? Are you expecting the Malian authorities to refer refer cases to the International Criminal Court? I mean, how would it actually work, and what is the political appetite for doing something like that in Mali?
When I was talking about the fragility, I was in fact referring to the fact that there has been Tuareg who were killed simply because they were Tuareg.
By the Malian army?
By Malian soldiers. And we have been witnessing, unfortunately, recently also, we received report of black Malian who have been arrested by Tuareg, who have been badly treated. So it is my hope that efforts will be made to really ensure that there is reconciliation, there is dialogue among all Malians without any distinction regarding their ethnic, their religion, etc. Now regarding the ICC, Mali itself requested the prosecutor of the ICC to investigate cases of serious crimes committed in Mali. And that is why I cannot but express my disappointment with the position taken recently by African leaders at the AU summit.
So the fact that the Malian government itself requested this investigation, does that give the lie to African leaders who say international justice is just a cover for targeting Africans?
All the cases, with the exception of Libya, Sudan, were referred by African leaders themselves. And now you have also the Kenyan case. The Kenyan case, they had the possibility to try it by themselves. They didn't, so the case was referred to the ICC. And I'm glad so far that President Uhuru, Vice President Ruto have been cooperating with the court. And there were 6 accused. 3 cases were dropped. And nothing would say today that tomorrow the case of Uhuru and Ruto will be dismissed due to lack of evidence.
Still, Mr. Dieng, as a former registrar of the Senegalese Supreme Court, you must be disappointed that more of these cases aren't being tried by national judicial authorities in African countries.
Well, 12 years ago, I wrote an op-ed in the Herald Tribune saying that African leaders have to domesticate international criminal law. They have to make sure that they use universal jurisdiction to bring to justice their warlords, their dictators. Unless they do it, one day will come, they will say this is judicial imperialism. And unfortunately, we are facing today, 12 years later, that message.
Who's going to lead the way in bringing about this change of getting more trials in the actual countries themselves rather than ICC? Is it civil society, or who's going to do it?
Well, the ICC, in fact, should act only at the last resort, once the states are not willing or don't have the capacity. That's why we have this complementarity. And I'm glad to say that countries today like Senegal, they are fighting to strengthen their judicial system. You go to Kenya today, they are also strengthening their judicial system. There are hopefully African countries which are today of a quality and of a size to handle their own criminal cases. Recently, I sent an observer to the trial of the former president of Guatemala, the first head of state ever brought to justice for the crime of genocide. And I would like to see one day also in Africa, former ministers, former head of state who have been accused of such crime also to face justice.
We'll have to end it there. Thank you so much for being a guest on the interview, Adama Dieng, Special Advisor to UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon on the prevention of genocide. Thanks for watching the interview on France 24.